Hey, what's up? I'm Guy.
I'm John.
It's our YouTube channel. Subscribe to this channel and give this video a like. We appreciate it.
We got a podcast below in the description. Check that out as well.
This video is brought to you by our friends at wineaccess.com/ham, 20% off.
Yep, wineaccess.com. Send a gift today. Wineaccess.com/ham, 20% off any wine you want.
Were the Cardinals, Seahawks, Rams, or 49ers, I'll take the Cardinals out, Seahawks, Rams, 49ers, ever really all that interested in Julio Jones is the question. Albert Breer, the MMQB, wrote this: the Falcons did wind up talking to all four NFC West teams about a Julio Jones trade, but they never got a real offer from any of them. When I read that, my first thought was part of an arms race is trying to get your opponents to spend themselves silly, to get them to overspend. The Seahawks, the Niners, the Rams, none of them would have been happy if Julio ended up on one of those other teams, John. But I do wonder if the position each of them, particularly the Seahawks and the Rams, because that's where the kind of the noise was coming from, was trying to put one of their opponents in a position just to do something that made them uncomfortable, just out of fear that that guy would end up on the other team. But really, none of them really wanted him.
Remember, the dude in the gym asked DeAndre Hopkins if he'd take a pay cut to help the Julio thing, and he said,
right.
he'd think about it.
That's right.
So,
there was
or
that
move money
part.
around.
Yeah.
So that did kind of go viral. The Niners and the Rams were in the same scenario, right? Stafford and Trey Lance equals no first-round picks for either of them. So when the rumor was going with the first-round picks, which I don't think anyone believed, you just knew that those guys couldn't get a seat at the table if that was the asking price because they did not have the picks. I think Seattle made the most sense just based on their history, based that they still have some picks, right? Just because the Jamal Adams deal has just come to fruition now. Like it's like they paid for it. Or I guess they owe one more first-round pick next year. So all these teams, none of them have first-round picks next year with the three main ones. But they are the most likely to do something crazy, given that the Rams have spent so much on different players that they're kind of out of ammo. And the Niners, it didn't really make that much sense, given how much they invested on offense with high picks at wide receiver back-to-back years, what they paid Kittle, just what they've invested in their run game. But the connection with Kyle was something that just wouldn't die. I wonder if the Niners, more than the other teams, kept their name in there, hoping if one of those teams were going to get it. Because I think the way Kyle talked about at Sonoma Raceway, I'm just glad, like you said, that the Rams or Seattle. He didn't list those two teams, but he's basically saying end up in the division. That's what he meant, right?
Yep. And I do think part of this game, part of the misdirection, we talk about the misdirection all the time when it's, I want you to think I like somebody I don't like, so you don't notice who I do like. I want you to think I like Mac Jones so that I can get Trey Lance, right? But we never really talk about the misdirection as I want you to think I like somebody so that you try to get that person, and we're in a position where one of us is going to do something uncomfortable. It's like free agency or trading FOMO, basically.
My question is, what team, if the Niners had to choose, he's coming to the Rams or Seattle, where would they rather have him?
Seattle.
I think so too, because their offense already is really dynamic. I think the Rams, they have a great defense. Like they could just be an unstoppable team.
And the McVay element, you think you're giving a super weapon to a guy who really knows how to use it.
Now, Seattle just hired a McVay minion to be their offensive coordinator. You put him with DK, Lockett. I think they re-signed Chris Carson. Russell seems happy now. They added Gabe Jackson. That offense would be, on paper, pretty unreal.
There's no right answer. There's only wrong answers to that question you just posed.
I think the way you could look at it, could the Rams with Julio be like a 14-3 team, right?
14-3.
I mean, I already think the Rams with Stafford, to me, they're the favorite in the division. Like when I look at the four, I just can't view the Arizona Cardinals as a playoff team, even though they do have a lot of talent. I think the Rams, if they do come together with a huge upgrade at quarterback, is it inconceivable? Now, they are very, very top-heavy. And you could say the Seattle is too, right, with Jamal, Russell, DK. But I do think the Rams' top-heaviness is just more balanced throughout their team. That, man, they would have been scary.
Well, what would have been, if let's look at it from the Cardinals' perspective, and let's include the Niners in that hypothetical. Then what would you choose? Would you still choose Seattle? Julio, you have to send Julio to one of those three teams, San Francisco, Seattle, the Rams? Where does he have?
I
the
think
most?
if you're Arizona, you just wave the white flag at the Rams. They've beat you 8 straight times. You just say, we'll never beat these guys. We'll just take our chances with the other two, right? They're already way superior than us. I think the Cardinals would go. I swear to God, it feels like the Cardinals, since Kingsbury have been there, every game against the Seattle's like a tie game going in the fourth quarter, and we know they play the Niners tight.
Right.
I would just wave the white. I would just say, send them to the
Just
Rams, make them the 1 seed, and we'll take our chance.
They're gonna steamroll us anyway. Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, this news from Breer makes me wonder if of the 3 teams, the Seahawks, Rams, the Niners, if the Niners wanted him the most, because the most we heard was that Seattle and the Rams like him. Right? Like they were on the list first, even though the Niners list made sense because of Kyle's connection. Were the 49ers more quiet about it than those other two because they actually kind of wanted him? Not that McVay didn't, not that Pete Carroll didn't. I'm sure they did.
I think the Niners would have gotten him if Jimmy Garoppolo was just their starting quarterback and Trey Lance had never existed and they just had normal picks.
Had their ones. Yeah.
I think they may offer like a 2 and a 3 and just get him. They would have done
in that
stagger.
scenario. They might, Atlanta might make them offer a 1 in that scenario, and they might do it. A 1 and a 4, something like that.
I don't think they. My take is everything that I've read that this was their best offer, a 2 and a staggered 4. A 2 and a 3 gets it done.
I don't think anybody was. Yeah, but I do think there was like I wonder if they would have made you pay more because you're an NFC team. And again, if
that
you
is
had
paying more, but isn't that paying more?
Yeah, it might have got it done. I'm just saying the world in which the Niners have Jimmy Garoppolo, who they love, I don't think it'd be inconceivable that all of a sudden they'd be willing, because they're a good football team, they'd be willing to trade, a pick in the late 20s for Julio Jones because they just pay a little more because Kyle loves him. That in that world where you're telling me Jimmy Garoppolo's just their quarterback and they haven't been worried about him and they didn't have to trade, I think you might spend money a little more freely in that scenario.
Be a little crazy though to trade a first-round pick for a 30-whatever-year-old guy.
Yeah.
Because ultimately, the Titans, you're trading him to a team that you're expecting the picks to be in the 20s, right? So it's going to be in the end of the second round.
Yeah, but I don't know that a 2 and a 3, which is instead of a 2 and a 4.
The Falcons attached the pick too, so it would just been a 2 and a 3 straight.
Yeah, they might have done that. It wouldn't shock me if you told me those 2 offers existed right now. If the Falcons went 2 and a 4 to an AFC team versus 2 and a 3 to the 49ers, that wouldn't have shocked me.
Yeah, but didn't we talk about it before? Why does it matter?
I don't think it matters at all. I think it's crazy. Yeah, I think it's crazy, but it doesn't mean that teams don't do it, don't think like that. But you're right. A third-round pick is significantly more valuable than a fourth-round pick.
Yeah. Because it's just, you get 2 second-day picks. That's way better than that late fourth-round pick. Yeah, potentially, it's can turn into a fifth. I know what I would do.
Quick. I would trade him. Hell, when a guy's 32, I might even trade him within my division.
I got a DM from a credible source that said they had heard that the Niners never made a firm offer. Never actually, just kept checking in, reading about the Titans. They were clearly really aggressive. This was something that they were heavily pursuing, right?
And now the question is, who were they fighting with? Because the Patriots, this is what he wrote, the Patriots never showed real interest. The Raiders, perhaps for cash reasons, weren't in it either. The Falcons did end up talking to all 4 NFC West teams, but never got a real offer.
Read that the Ravens, the moment they got the Minnesota kid in the first round, they pivoted.
Bateman, yep.
One thing that is just true, I think, around the league, also with offensive linemen, and we saw this with Trent Williams, 5 years ago, there would have been 10 teams all in on Trent Williams, but the last couple drafts have yielded, 6, 7 left tackles, and 3, 4, 5 of them are really good. Think how many wide receivers have come into the league. I would say 2 or 3 years ago, there would have been a lot less teams. We got Justin Jefferson.
Right.
We're good. Right. We got DK Metcalf. We're good. There are just a lot of teams around the league that just feel pretty good about, even if he's not quote unquote a 1, just their young guy ascending, right? And they're just way cheaper. Because finances do play into this heavily in a salary cap league.
Yeah. Yeah. But I think what you just said, the 2020 draft produced I'm not going to say all 15 of the guys that went in the first 3 rounds that were really good last year are number 1 receivers, but produced a bunch of fantastic receivers. You're right. When you start going through, the Niners between Kittle, Deebo Samuel, and Ayuk feel like they have some combination of a true number 1 target, right? And you go down the list, and a lot of teams do feel that way.
Well, and maybe that's what makes it easier for the Titans and even Seattle is that they got DK and AJ in the second round. So it's like, we're playing with a little extra money here, given that we hit a home run on a guy that we didn't have to use a top 20 pick on, and they're clearly top. Like if you redid the AJ Brown, DK Metcalf draft, do either one of those guys make it out of the top 10? I mean, we have to look at the totality of it, but they're going. I mean, honestly, both might be like top 8 picks, right? In a quote unquote redo of a draft. There were good players in the draft, but my point is like they are premium players, right? How many guys in last year's draft? Justin Jefferson, CeeDee Lamb, Judy, Rager, Ayuk, do you think are going to be as good as DK Metcalf and AJ Brown? I mean, and all those guys are listed are good. Like it's tough. But yeah, I mean, but I think it's why if you're those teams, like we'll use our second round, then we got Julio and AJ.
They both go ahead of TJ Hawkinson, right? At 8?
Yes.
They both go ahead of Ed Oliver at 9?
Yes.
They both go ahead of Josh Allen, Jacksonville's Josh Allen?
Probably yes.
Daniel Jones?
Yes.
Cleveland Ferrell?
Yes.
Devin White?
No.
Quinnen Williams?
Yes.
Bosa, Kyler, no. I mean, yeah, John, they're top 7 picks.
But there were other good players in that draft, right?
Yeah, I mean, Noah Fant and Montez Sweat and yeah, I mean, there were other good players in that draft.
Yeah, I mean, they are clearly 2 of the top 10 players in the draft.
I mean, they're
elite players. I mean, they are ballers.